Do not blink until I give you permission to blink. That's funny.
Does anybody else notice a lack of quality? Like, every time something comes out with high anticipation, it ends up being a disappointment? I'm sure it's just a coincidence, nothing to do with studios not giving a shit and politically driven plots. But to rectify this and find something remotely decent, I decided to take a look at some other movies that didn't get the same level of attention as yet another Fast and Furious movie. And it turned out to not be the most difficult task, as a lot of films don't get the credit they deserve. And in the end, I found that Brawl in Cell Block 99 is a pretty blatant example of a hidden gem, or just a really good movie nobody saw. Starring Vince Vaughn, otherwise known as the hidden antagonist in The Lost World, and guy who somehow ended up in the Psycho remake, Brawl in Cell Block 99 is the kind of movie that I wish my phone would tell me about, even though I don't ask it to. The plot focuses on Bradley Thomas, husband and soon-to-be father, who essentially ends up in prison for mainly doing the right thing after a drug deal goes completely wrong. Definitely not ideal, but it becomes even less ideal when a henchman of the operation demands he complete an assassination job. Or else. By that I mean he has a friend who's quite big on the whole abortion thing. This results in a film with a unique gritty tone and a strong emphasis on realistic violence. It's the kind of thing that can very easily fail if done incorrectly, so let's analyze Brawl in Cell Block 99 and see just why nobody's seen it. It probably offended somebody. We open with Bradley Thomas and his distinctive tattoo, as the film wastes no time showing off his personality.
This is a surprise party. Somebody missed the cue.
Come in my office.
You can tell it out here.
It's a relative distaste for basic cliché formalities, with some dry humor thrown in to keep things upbeat. It's something we're gonna need, as things are not starting off too positive. Not only has he been laid off, but he can't even get into his fucking locker.
James?
Yeah.
You know where the bolt cutters are at?
In the storeroom.
But for those of you who don't watch movies with gray tones like this, take note of how good this opening scene is. Not only does it perfectly showcase what kind of person Bradley is, but also very subtly lets us know that this might not be the most upbeat of movies. Unless you just randomly turned it on and don't even know it's a prison movie, in which case you'll probably have to keep watching a bit. Which won't happen if you're the basic feminist, as the next scene might be a bit problematic. It turns out his wife Lauren is cheating on him. And he doesn't hit her or anything abusive like that, but he does dump out the contents of her purse to obtain the phone, thus proving she's cheating on him, and demands she get in the house and wait. Now, some may call this disrespectful, but in my opinion, cheating on your hard-working husband for no reason is a bit more disrespectful. This is my opinion.
Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur.
But we do see some of Bradley's other important traits, such as not being bothered too much by pain, clearly not understanding the importance of recycling, and most importantly, keeping his anger intact, opting to take it out on the vehicle instead. Then again, that might not be what they meant by one mistake. But at least now, they can talk about this like adults. I mean, who knows? Maybe she had a good reason.
I thought maybe you were doing the same thing. You were staying out late every night, coming to bed after I was asleep.
No.
Well, that's a good reason to cheat on somebody, I guess. I mean, fuck talking about it. But after a weird comparison of their situation and getting the wrong coffee cream, which is too long to show, he insists that they start again, pick up where things went bad, and even have another baby. I mean, yeah, he's got no job, but he's got that covered.
You're gonna be a drug dealer?
No, I'm gonna drive packages for a friend.
That's right. You see, a drug dealer is somebody who delivers drugs for anybody who pays. But delivering packages for a friend with drugs in them, who pays, is a completely different thing. So we cut ahead 18 months, and it seems the package delivering is quite profitable. They even have a new house now.
What are you doing? I don't want you handling a knife right now.
That's not sexist.
How come you let me work in the kitchen at Perils before I was pregnant?
Because you're resilient.
Still not sexist. But such luxury is disrupted as his boss's new associate, Eleazar, has tasked him with picking up a package of crystal meth, which he almost refused as he doesn't like one of the henchmen, but...
You help me set up this partnership, I'll give you 2 months off when your little baby's born.
3.
Done. We're good.
And it's easily resolved, as long as they do exactly what he says. Well, it's almost a half hour in, what do you expect? And obviously, it's not the most climactic scene, as we kind of know it's not gonna end good. The fact that it's a police trap and the men don't listen to him is not the most surprising outcome. But him staying to assist the police, opposed to just leaving, is slightly less predictable. It proves that he is in fact a good person, which wasn't completely obvious yet. However, there is a moment when he climbs back up the pier, and it's really slow. I know it's trying to be realistic, but it seems like this wasn't really needed. And this movie has a few of these. He takes out the big henchman, and apparently pretending to be a good Samaritan is not an option, nor is being a snitch.
Would you remember if I showed you a list of names?
Don't like to read. Won't even see a movie if it's got subtitles.
You find this humorous?
Your tricks are.
So yeah, he's not getting off easy, but Lurin does understand this and promises to wait for him. And that's kind of important, because up until this point, you may have thought that opening bit was irrelevant, as it didn't really seem to affect anything. But upon hearing her say she won't make the same mistake again, it gives that scene actual meaning. Which is a good thing, because having a scene that long for no reason would be kind of stupid. So, it's off to prison for 7 years. But at least it's minimal security.
Worse than the DMV. Next.
And it's quickly made apparent that it isn't all that bad. You get your own cell, various activities like boxing. Having to be counted in the middle of the night isn't the best thing, but overall, as far as prisons go, I'll give it a 6. The problem is that apparently fucking up that whole meth deal thing is not gonna be without consequences, and Lurin is kidnapped. And upon being visited by Eleazar's henchman, the Placid Man, he informs him that if he does not kill an inmate named Christopher Bridge in cell block 99 at Redleaf, then his wife will be visited by his good friend, the abortionist.
He claims that he can clip the limbs of a fetus, yet leave the child in such a condition that it will live to be born.
Gives a whole new meaning to the phrase birth control. Then again, I'm sure some dumbass takes issue with an abortionist being a bad guy, but whatever. The point is, that's a maximum security prison, and he's currently not there, so he has to get there. And the only way to do that is to prove that's where he needs to be. Luckily, there's that guard he didn't get along with, so they fight. And for some reason, breaking his arm isn't enough to get him transferred. But the next brawl is, so it's off to Redleaf. In which things are a lot different, as Don Johnson plays Warden Tuggs, who has a unique take on maximum security.
If you make trouble, your minimum freedom will get smaller. So small that it becomes microscopic.
And as expected, the movie takes its slow time, showing you just how bad things are, which includes zooming in on that. But unfortunately, this again isn't good enough, as prisoners from cell block 99 are kept isolated. So, you know what that means.
We're using it now, gringo.
Don't call me a foreigner. Last time I checked, the colors of the flag weren't red, white, and burrito.
Well, there's no going back now. So we get another fight, or a brawl as they call it, and since they've mentioned it in the title, I should point out they look real good. A sense of realism you don't see too often these days.
You just lost your minimum freedom.
And you're cancelled. You didn't think they'd forget that flag comment, did you? But before heading to cell block 99, he's taken to a special room and placed with this special belt that has unique properties.
Each point gets you one of these.
Well, that's gonna suck, but at least he's where he needs to be. Problem is, nobody really seems to know who Christopher Bridge is. And on top of that, he's taken to see Eleazar for some socializing.
Your heroics cost me $3.2 million, as well as my freedom for an undetermined period of time. And because of you, my sister is now a widow.
Okay, so given the fact that they've been given a very nice place to live inside the prison and free usage of the stun belt, I'm gonna go with the assumption that Warden Tuggs is on the corrupt side. He's taken back to the cell unconscious, but then devises a new plan to place the rubber from the shoe lining between the belt and himself to prevent the stun. Not sure if that's accurate, but it gets the job done.
When I autograph that cast, should I make it out to Mr. or Mrs. Bitch?
This allows him to, subdue the guards, and with no restrictions, he can finally deal with Eleazar and his men in a much more unique way. Well, that's a step up. So he brutally kills the henchmen. You would think at some point they'd just stop. And I gotta give Eleazar some credit for remaining completely calm despite the fact that it's not really going well in his case. But he does eventually agree to have the Placid Man release Lauren and have his boss Gil confirm her safety. However, Gil is not content with his minor role in the movie and kills the Placid Man anyway. Then Lorraine takes the gun to finish off the abortionist. What the fuck? Does that look like tall grass to you? He then says goodbye to his wife, saying he'll find out when she can visit, and somehow isn't shot while going back into the cell to execute Eleazar. But, I guess happy ending. Still happy ending. I mean, he was in the Psycho remake. And that was Brawl in Cell Block 99, and it really should have been a hit. I think the best way to describe it would be a combination of subtle storytelling in a dark and relatively depressing environment. Personally, I'm a fan of that kind of thing, but I can see how some of the slower moments could be a bit tiresome. An example of this would be a pointless scene when they stop to talk about curtains, and the aforementioned attempt to climb up the pier. I understand the reasoning for this is to create a sense of realism and authenticity, which it definitely succeeds in doing, but some of this could have probably been left out. It's not like the movie's particularly short. That being said, the negatives pretty much end there, and unless you're some kind of feminist, the subtle storytelling mostly works in the movie's favor. As for the characters, they retain the same level of quality, fitting in with the movie's tone. Vince Vaughn portrays the somewhat comedic guy you probably don't want to fuck with, and he does it quite authentically. As you can see, authenticity is a running theme here. The other characters aren't quite as memorable, but they do fit into the plot some way and have a reason to exist. His boss, Gil, may have felt like a mere plot device, but he does essentially save his wife at the end, opposed to just being the asshole who caused the whole thing to happen. And despite only being in a few scenes, he had a unique personality, creating a sense of realism you don't see too often. I'll admit it's not the most interesting plot, apart from the abortionist it's quite simple, but it's the way the movie goes about telling it and its overall realistic characters that gives it its unique edge. Surely some of its ideas may offend some people, but if that's the case, at least there's a new Indiana Jones movie coming, with a plot about overcoming racism, no doubt. So, that should be good. But for those of you who don't want to suck themselves off, this is something I highly recommend. Unfortunately, the film's box office ended up something like the ending, which was bleak, But hopefully, as time goes on, it'll get the attention that it rightfully deserves. I'm the analyst, and remember kids, most abortions don't happen with the woman being kidnapped during the night. It kind of interferes with the whole choice thing. So, you made it to the end, an impressive feat indeed. Since you managed that, consider checking out the gaming channel, in which I cover a variety of gaming topics, like in-depth gameplay, and analysis videos like this one. If you want to see that, then press the link in the description. It's that simple.